Okay guys, in class we made a quick list of a lot of the derivative rules or derivatives that you need to know, so I'm just going to put this all down into a video so you can take a look at this. The first thing that we learned how to do was the power rule, which said if I have something raised to a power, even if it has a coefficient, the derivative, we're going to multiply the coefficient by n, and then the power is going to decrease by 1. So that was our power rule. Okay. If you have two pieces to a function, and you define the derivative of it, you're just going to find the derivative of the first part plus the derivative of the second part. So if I were to give you a quick example, it would be something like this. If I had like 2x squared plus 3x, you're just going to take the derivative of the first part, and you would get 4x plus the derivative of the next part, which is 3, and that would be your function. Okay. If you're subtracting two functions, you're just going to take the derivative of the first function minus the derivative of the second function. But then we start multiplying functions together. When you multiply functions together, their derivative, we have to use, for the derivative, we have to use the product rule, which says take the first times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. Then we get the quotient rule, which says if we have two functions divided by each other, we are going to take down times the derivative of up, so down d up, minus up d down over down down. And you could either write this as, I would just write it like this. You could write h of x times h of x, or I like to just write h of x squared. So remember, it was down d up minus up d down over down down. Okay, then we had the chain rule. And inside another function, I take the derivative of the outer function and just plug in what was in there before. But then whatever I plug in, I have to then take the derivative of. Okay. So if I made that more complicated, make sure I got all of those parentheses, I would take the derivative of the total outside, plug in everything else, okay, times, I plugged in this, so derivative of this would be another chain rule. I plugged in this, so I have to multiply by the derivative of it. Now think about it, if I were to take the derivative of 1, so that's why we can stop once we've dealt with our last function. So there's that. Now we have a whole bunch of trig functions. The derivative of sine of x is cosine of x. The derivative of cosine of x is negative sine of x. The derivative of tan of x is secant squared x. Now remember, this is really secant of x squared. If I were to use cotangent next, the derivative is negative cosecant squared of x. Secant is secant x tan x. No matter what's in here, if this is secant of 2x, this would be secant of 2x tan of 2x. So here's an example. And then because I plugged in 2x, I have to multiply by the derivative of what I plugged in. So that's just an example. Make sure whatever's in here, we plug into them. And then if you have to use the chain rule, you're also multiplying by the derivative of what you plugged in. And then lastly, we have cosecant of x, which is minus cosecant x, cotangent of x. And just as a heads up, if you weren't here today, I forgot to put the negative sign on our notes last class, so please fix that. I will remind you guys at the beginning of the test. We should be in good shape, but I just want to make sure we point that out. So there's a pretty comprehensive list of what we've done. A couple other things that you might want to remember to look over, and I'm just going to make a little note on a sticky note because you guys know I like sticky notes. Some things that you want to make sure you can be able to do. Make sure you know how to deal with the limit definition of a derivative. Whether it's evaluating it or just using it to pull out the function and then just finding the derivative the way we know how to now. Make sure you can do problems involving tables, like number 24 on the review. And then I would also say make sure, there was another thing I thought of. Oh, make sure you guys can do tangent and normal lines. If you know everything on this page, and you can do these 3 things, I think you'll be in pretty good shape. And then in class I said there's one trig identity you really should know. Talked about that one in class. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I want to throw at you guys before we go? I would just practice. I will be around during the day. I know we have a long second period, so come find me if you need anything. And I will see you guys for the test on Friday.